This is a graph of the Miami housing market from 1992 to 2012. It was one of the most volatile and exciting times in real estate history. At the start of the new millennium in 2000, Miami was an expensive city to live in, but home prices were relatively stable, going up at a steady pace throughout the years. Sometime around the turn of the century, something spectacular began to happen. Miami home prices began to go parabolic. The home index for the city read 120 in 2000. 6 years of massive growth later, it was 340, going up about 250% in just 7 years. When it finally popped in the fall of 2007, real estate prices in the city would lose around 45% of their value, one of the worst crashes on record. And of course, Miami's story is one that people love to reference when talking about today's market. Following years of what seems to be parabolic growth, everyone is pointing at this graph, screaming the obvious. Are we headed towards another housing market disaster? In today's video, we look at a perspective never before shared to try to answer this complex question that could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. We know from recent reports that the housing market today for buyers is just plain sad. Alongside record growth in prices, we have seen rates skyrocket past 6%. This deadly combination has caused the average mortgage payment to soar past $2,000 a month. But regardless of these facts, today's supposed bubble is a lot different than the one we saw during the Great Financial Recession. You see, back then, things were very concentrated in certain cities. While Miami's market rose like this, other cities saw nothing close to a super bubble. For example, Cleveland's housing market rose only 25% in this period from 2000 to 2007. And you can see on this graph that while it started in the same place, at the peak of the bubble, Miami was significantly worse than a city like Cleveland. And when things finally crashed in 07, the resulting fallout was much worse in these hot markets. This is a bit different than today. If we look at Miami's most recent numbers, things have risen steadily since the 2012 bottom. In 2020, however, we saw a rapid change in pace. Once again, prices exploded and the Miami market rose 42% following Q1 of 2020. Now, during that same period, the Cleveland market actually rose 31%, keeping pace with the Miami market. This goes to show that today's supposed bubble is relatively consistent throughout the nation, and we're seeing this price spike occur all over the place. The massive deviations that were evident in 2007 are not so clear anymore. Even in my small Midwestern suburb, prices have gone completely out of control and continue to go out of control despite some hot areas cooling off. For example, according to Redfin, the median home sale price across the nation has fallen from $396,000 in June to $369,000 as of the latest reading. You would think that with such a fall, the effects would be exaggerated in markets that are seen as second class. But that's the opposite of what is happening. As I mentioned, my small, cold Midwestern town has seen parabolic growth worse than Miami. The median home price here in Q1 of 2020 was $112,000. Today it's up to $191,000. That's a 70% increase in less than 3 years. To make matters worse, nearly 90% of the homes for sale here sell for over listing price, and they do so in under 7 days. Compare this market to 2018 and it's night and day. Back then, listing a home meant that you'd be lucky to get what you listed it for, and you'd have to wait over 2 months just to sell it. New buyers in the area now find themselves paying an average of $1,500 a month for a mortgage that in 2020 would have cost them just $650. Basically, in summary, the market isn't just crazy in these hotbeds like Miami, it's gotten out of control everywhere, including Midwestern suburbs. But is it sustainable? That's the question on everyone's mind. The supposed crash is supported largely by two pieces of evidence. One is this: the inventory level of new homes. We know that throughout history, this stat has acted as a leading indicator for future home prices. When we get huge spikes like this one we are currently having right now, almost always what follows is a recession. Currently, the level is at 11, meaning that it would take us 11 months of current demand to exhaust the supply of new homes. This is getting dangerously close to the same levels we saw in 2009 when we saw new home supply numbers hit 12 months. Because so much of the economy is wrapped up in the new home business, this number is incredibly important to economists trying to project the future. Think about all the industries related to new home construction and how much they fuel the economy with gas, concrete, tools, lumber, jobs, and various other supplies intertwined with this statistic. If we're unable to get relief, we have to look at history and at least acknowledge the danger here. This leads us to our second piece of evidence, which is something I call the housing spread. It's a bit complicated, but nothing you can't wrap your head around. You see, you can gauge the danger to the housing market by looking at two numbers and the difference between them. We know mortgage rates are heavily correlated with the 10-year treasury yield. For example, right now the 10-year pays 3.42%. That means a bank can buy the treasury and get a guaranteed return of 3.42%, over 10 years. Now, when banks give out mortgages, they usually base the rate around the 10-year rate. When it goes up, so do mortgage rates, and when it goes down, same thing. However, the spread between these numbers is a cushion the bank gives themselves and is sized theoretically based on risk. So if the 10-year is at 3.4 and the 30-year mortgage is at 6.0, the difference or spread is 2.6. This is pretty high historically speaking, and it shows that lenders are worried about the market and are pricing in a bigger cushion for themselves. Now, where prices end up, nobody really knows, but given these obstacles, it's safe to say that a lot of experts are worried about the housing market. We've seen a global slowdown from Canada to New Zealand to the US, but because of local dynamics and future uncertainty, it's hard to say that the market is going to topple over in the same way that it did in 2007. This time around, it's not the people who aren't paying their mortgages. For most of the last 10 years, buyers have had strict lending filters, low rates, and okay prices, meaning that those people in homes right now, they're doing just fine paying off their super low rates, but it's the future buyer that's got everyone worried. Someone with a $400,000 house and a 6% mortgage is a lot more dangerous than someone with a $200,000 house and a 3% mortgage, especially if the economy turns and people begin losing jobs. Whatever the case may be, it's interesting to see these developments unfold and how every single market down to the neighborhood is unique in its very own way. Thank you guys for watching. As always, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed it.